Victoria Valentine's here next with the business, always worth waiting for.
Now on BBC World News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
The long shadow of the pandemic, how long COVID is adding to labour shortages and helping push up inflation in the US and here in Europe. And remittances or money transfers to India will cross $100 billion this year, the biggest receipts from expat workers ever received anywhere. Also coming up, trying to stop the rot. Twitter offers big incentives to keep advertisers on board after Musk's takeover sent top brands heading for the exits. Hello there and a very warm welcome to World Business Report. I'm Victoria Valentine. We're going to be talking all things remittances and money transfers. But first, let's start in the United States, where actually, in fact, a lot of that money is coming from. Official employment numbers are out in just a few hours' time. November's numbers expected to be very strong again after the US economy made quite a lot of jobs in October, far more than expected. But the US Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, has long been worried about the tightness of the labour market. An acute shortage of labour has been driving up wages as employers struggle to fill positions, adding to record high inflation. And it's becoming clear that the long-term impact of COVID is playing a part, as Michelle Fleury reports from New York.
So it's this constant depletion, this constant exhaustion, and this constant feeling that you're just not yourself.
New Yorker Melissa Mansfield got COVID in March 2022. 8 months later, she's still struggling with the virus.
There's so much fear, like I didn't know, is this my life forever? I just had to stop everything that I love in my life.
Melissa worked part-time in marketing to fund her passion projects, dance and filmmaking. She wants to work again, but can't.
There's definitely been times where I've been too sick, like I just know that I can't work. Because it's not just physical exertion, it's mental exertion, it's emotional exertion.
Melissa is one of up to 4 million Americans out of work due to long COVID. To put a dollar figure on that, the annual cost of lost wages is estimated to be as high as $230 billion. Americans with long COVID have had to cut back hours, switch to remote work or drop out altogether, contributing to America's labour shortage. All across the country, businesses are struggling to find workers, a problem that's particularly acute here in New York. At one point, the epicentre of America's COVID-19 outbreak, the state's economy still hasn't fully healed. The share of workers participating in the workforce lags the rest of the nation, something that should concern us all, according to the New York State Deputy Controller Maria Doulis.
It's important for vibrant communities to have a high rate of labor force participation, and that helps, fill jobs, provide services, keep communities and economies very vibrant. And so keeping an eye on the labor force participation rate and the size of the labor force is really important for the long-term economic and fiscal prosperity of New York and the nation.
According to one study, long COVID could cost the United States $3.7 trillion in lost earnings, reduced quality of life and medical expenses, leaving COVID-19 long haulers like Melissa with a hefty doctor's bill.
I think in general it's hard to find specialists in long COVID in the States. And then once you try to find them through your health insurance, it's a mess.
While America is enjoying a period of very low unemployment, it masks the harm long COVID has done to the workforce. The economic damage may be felt for years to come. Michelle Fleury, BBC News, New York.
Let's turn to Twitter now. The social media platform has launched its biggest incentive ever, it says, to attract advertisers after many big names withdrew following the takeover by Elon Musk. According to an email sent to advertising agencies, Twitter says US firms who spend $500,000 will have their spending matched by the company. A sort of buy one, get one free deal. Ad sales account for the vast majority of Twitter's revenue, and Musk has admitted to a massive drop over the past month. Elsewhere, Indians are set to receive $100 billion in remittances or money transfers this year. That's the first time a single country has ever reached that number. According to the World Bank report, the reasons behind it are straightforward: wage rises and strong jobs markets across the Western world. In fact, the amount of money sent back home by migrants around the world has grown by 5% this year. Well, we can speak to Arunade Mukherjee, who is in Delhi for us. Now, Arunade, there was some interesting stuff in this report, wasn't there? Comments about where Indians are working across the world and what kind of jobs they're doing.
That's right. And you know, this is quite a significant milestone for any country to have achieved, and that's why it is grabbing headlines. $100 billion in itself, that's quite a headline-grabbing number there. But having said that, the increase that we're seeing here in India as far as overseas remittances are concerned is about 12%. And you said overall, world over, is about 5% rise, which is to the tune of nearly $630 billion. Now, apart from the reasons that you mentioned in the World Bank report that is improved job conditions, improved wages as well. But one very important aspect is also the fact that the rupee is pegged to the dollar, and it was weakening over the last few months, and that basically meant all the money that came into India in foreign exchange meant that you would get much more for the dollar, so that also helped. But apart from that, in the report, apart from India, there are countries like Mexico, China, Philippines, Egypt that have also been mentioned. But over the last few years, Victoria, we've seen several Indians move to high-income countries rather, like the US, the UK, as well as Singapore. And so what we've been seeing is better wages and a lot more money that is being sent back home to India.
Yeah, more highly skilled jobs as well. Arunade, I just want to sort of get a sense from you of how important money transfers are to India. What do they do and for whom?
Well, they contribute nearly 3% to India's GDP, so that is a very important aspect as well, and they're considered to be a very crucial source of income for several low and middle income families, from where we see a lot of people going abroad in search of better prospects, and the primary objective there is for them to send money back home. But one note of caution, say experts, is that you don't know if this is this sentiment is going to sustain because of the global headwinds, because of the economic slowdown, and also because of inflation.
Arunade, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And before I go, a couple more stories for you. BP stands to receive blood money through its investments in Russia. This is according to a leading advisor to Ukraine's president. Oleg Ostenko said BP is entitled to hundreds of millions of pounds from its stake in Rosneft, the Russian energy giant. BP says it no longer is receiving any profits from Rosneft, and it's still planning on selling its stake, a move that it announced immediately after that invasion. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at Valentine News. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome along to our check on the weather around the world. We will start in North America.